Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron exchange views on efforts to end Ukraine conflict early. PM Modi reiterates India's consistent support for peaceful resolution. Massive protests in Washington, D.C. to oppose Trump's troop deployment. Chicago braces for expanded ICE enforcement. World number one Aryna Sabalenka beats Amanda Anisimova to retain her US Open crown. In men's singles, Jannik Sinner to face Carlos Alcaraz in a blockbuster final. And in Hockey Asia Cup, India thrashed China 7-0 in their final Super Fours encounter, set up summit clash versus South Korea. Prime Minister Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron on Saturday held a phone call. During the call, both leaders reviewed and positively assessed the developments in bilateral cooperation across different sectors, including economic, defense, science, technology and space. The leaders also reaffirmed their commitment towards further strengthening India-France strategic partnership in line with Horizon 2047 roadmap, the Indo-Pacific roadmap and the Defense Industrial roadmap. PM Modi and French President also exchanged views on international and regional issues, including efforts for bringing an early end to the conflict in Ukraine. PM Modi reiterated India's consistent support for peaceful resolution of the conflict and early restoration of peace and stability. The Prime Minister also thanked President Macron for accepting the invitation to the AI Impact Summit hosted by India in February 2026 and looked forward to welcoming President Macron in India. Both leaders agreed to continue to remain in touch and work closely together to promote global peace and stability. And in a social media post, the French president said he presented to PM Modi the outcome of the work the EU leaders carried out with President Zelensky and other partners of the coalition of the Willing last Thursday in Paris. He further wrote, India and France share the same determination to achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. President Macron also said India and France will continue moving forward together to trace this path towards peace. And Prime Minister Modi extended warm congratulations to Guyanese President Irfan Ali following his party's resounding success in Guyana's general and regional elections. In a post shared on X, PM Modi wrote, and I quote him here, "Heartiest congratulations to President Irfan Ali on the resounding success in general and regional elections. I look forward to further strengthening India-Guyana partnership anchored in strong and historical people-to-people ties." Unquote. And India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Saturday said that she will personally monitor the passing on of GST benefits to citizens. In an interview with a news channel, the Finance Minister said people from across the country have termed the GST reforms as a welcome move. She urged people to report if the benefits are not being passed on to them. She added that several industry players have already pledged to pass on the benefits. The Finance Minister further stated that the GST reforms required long working hours and bureaucratic effort. And India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirti Vardhan Singh, held a vibrant interaction with the members of the Indian community and Friends of India during his visit to Iceland. The minister, who is on a visit to Iceland, held interactions with Indian community at a reception hosted by the Indian embassy on Saturday. Sharing the pictures and details on social media, the Indian minister expressed happiness and encouragement to see the positive and growing role the Indian diaspora is playing in strengthening the India-Iceland partnership. The minister further said that he also had the opportunity to meet esteemed Icelandic friends who have long served as cultural ambassadors, fostering enduring ties between the two countries. Now, the 21st edition of India-US Joint Military Exercise Yuddha Abhyas is underway at Fort Wainwright, Alaska, USA. The field training component of the exercise began on Saturday. Soldiers from Indian Army and the US Army are rehearsing various battle drills together. The exercise is scheduled to continue till 14 September. Over 2 weeks, troops are rehearsing a spectrum of tactical drills, including heli-borne operations, employment of surveillance resources and unmanned aerial systems, rockcraft, mountain warfare, casualty evacuation, combat medical aid, and the integrated use of artillery, aviation, and electronic warfare systems. And in a strong display of friendship and maritime partnership, INS Kadmat was accorded the honour of conducting and leading the Mobile Fleet Review on Thursday as part of Papua New Guinea's 50th Independence Day celebrations. According to the release, INS Kadmat was accorded the privilege of conducting and leading the Mobile Fleet Review on September 4, being a multinational and multi-platform event to be conducted within the confines of Port Moresby Harbour. As the officer conducting the serial, Kadmat navigated various challenges associated with the event with precision. The conduct highlights the ability of IN to operate in a multinational environment, reaffirming its standing as a highly trained and professional force. It also brings out the increasing interoperability that the like-minded navies of the Indo-Pacific enjoy and IN's rising reputation as preferred security partner. And Chief of Air Staff Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh has stated that Operation Sindoor demonstrated India's ability to strike swiftly, decisively and with precision. Addressing the passing out parade at the Officers Training Academy in Chennai on Saturday, the Air Force Chief urged the newly commissioned officers to uphold the spirit of jointness in their service to the nation. He reminded the cadets that the armed forces are the nation's first responders in times of crisis. The Air Chief Marshal encouraged the cadets to understand their roles and collaborate with fellow officers to advance the collective mission of the armed forces. The US President Donald Trump threatened to wage war against Chicago on Saturday as his administration's large-scale immigration raids loomed over the city. Trump alluded to immigration raids in Chicago in a Truth Social post that echoed the movie Apocalypse Now. His post said Chicago is about to find out why it's called the Department of War. The post comes one day after he changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Earlier, Trump said that he would also deploy National Guard troops to fight crime in Chicago. Meanwhile, the Chicago area is bracing for additional immigration enforcement over the weekend. Song and fury in Chicago as demonstrators gathered to voice anger at possible deployment of troops in the city. Democratic Governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, on Tuesday stated that he thought ICE raids would take place during the Mexican Independence Day celebrations this weekend and the following weekend. Due to concerns about immigration raids, a few Mexican events in the Chicago region were cancelled or postponed. ICE has not responded to requests for comment on whether it sent more agents to Chicago. And demonstrators also take to the streets of Washington, D.C. to protest Trump's policies, in particular the deployment of National Guard troops in the capital. Protesters at the We Are All D.C. march, who included undocumented immigrants and supporters of Palestine, chanted slogans denouncing Trump and carried posters, some which read, "Trump must go now, free D.C. and resist tyranny." It is unclear when their mission will end, though the Army this week extended orders for the D.C. National Guard through November 30th. And updates from West Asia now. The new head of the U.S. Military Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, concluded his first visit to Israel in the role on Saturday. The IDF, in a statement, said the visit of CENTCOM head was focused on the operational cooperation between the Israeli military and the U.S. military, maintaining regional stability in both nearby and distant arenas and strengthening joint efforts to address the challenges and threats in the region. Cooper was appointed in early August to lead CENTCOM, the U.S. military command responsible for the Middle East. Meanwhile, thousands of Israelis rallied in Tel Aviv on Saturday night, issuing direct appeals to US President Donald Trump to force an end to the Gaza conflict and secure the release of the hostages. Protesters packed a public square outside the military headquarters, waving Israeli flags and holding placards with images of the hostages. There is growing despair among many Israelis as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the military to capture a major urban center where hostages may be held. Families of the hostages and their supporters fear the assault on Gaza City would endanger their loved ones. Tel Aviv has witnessed weekly demonstrations that have grown in size, with protesters demanding that the government secure a ceasefire with Hamas to obtain the release of hostages. There are 48 hostages held in Gaza. Israeli officials believe that around 20 are still alive. In a latest update in Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukrainian drones hit the roof of Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant training center, causing no major damage and no increase in radiation levels, the Russian-installed administration of the Russian-held plant in Ukraine said. The statement in a social media post said the strike occurred about 300 meters from a reactor unit, while Ukrainian officials said on Sunday a Russian drone attack on Ukraine's capital Kiev injured at least 8 people and sparked fires at several high-rise apartment buildings in the city's west and east. According to the authorities, drone debris also caused fires atop a 16-story and 2 9-story buildings in the Sviatoshinsky district in Kiev's west. Now, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has rejected his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin's suggestion to meet in Moscow, calling the choice of such an unrealistic meeting place a sign that Russia is not genuinely interested in negotiations. In an interview, Zelensky said that Ukraine is under missile attacks, under fire every day. In response, he added Putin can come to Kiev. US President Trump has been pushing for face-to-face talks between the Russian and Ukrainian presidents. A bilateral or trilateral meeting was one of the main goals of Trump's summit with Putin in Alaska last month. Earlier, Zelensky wrote on social media that Russia launched more than 1,300 drones, nearly 900 guided bombs and some 50 missiles of various types at Ukraine during the first 5 days of September. Now, a recent investigation into the Lisbon funicular crash that claimed 16 lives revealed a snapped cable linking 2 cabins was the primary cause of the accident. The cable failed despite passing a visual inspection just hours before the crash. According to the GPI-AAF report, the scheduled maintenance plan was up to date and a visual inspection conducted in the morning of the accident detected no anomalies in the vehicle's cable or braking systems. However, the section of the cable where it separated wasn't visible for inspection without dismantling. Investigators had already announced that 11 foreign nationals were among the 16 people killed in Wednesday's crash. 2 separate investigations are underway, one by the Accident Investigators Office and another by the Prosecutor's Office, who will present a preliminary report within 45 days. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. Norwegians are set to vote on Sunday and Monday in a nail-biter parliamentary election. Jihadists killed 63 in attack on Nigerian town. And Microsoft confirms Azure recovery after undersea cable incident in Red Sea. Services back online.
We're always on the move, to the market, to work, to meet our friends. But how often do we stop and think about, is there a cleaner, affordable and eco-friendly way to travel?
Since switching to this e-rickshaw, I feel so much better. Everything is easier with this battery-powered rickshaw.
Our research is focused on a less mature technology, which will be less costly, so it'll be more economically viable.
If you plant new saplings, they'll take 10 years to grow. When we replant the trees, we are also retaining the oxygen the trees provide and preserving greenery.
My dream would be to have a play street / parklet, so we could have the parklet for some adults and some refreshments, and then everyone could come and kids could be playing.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Brazil is celebrating its Independence Day today. Earlier, in a televised address to the nation on the eve of Independence Day, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva defended the nation's sovereignty while denouncing politicians he described as traitors. His comments follow efforts by allies of former President Jair Bolsonaro to push for harsher foreign sanctions on Brazil and advocate for a controversial bill in Congress that would grant amnesty to individuals convicted for January 8, 2023 attacks on government institutions.
We
are not and will never again be anyone's colony. We are capable of governing and caring for our land and our people without interference from any foreign government. We maintain friendly relations with all countries, but we do not accept orders from anyone. We will resist any attempt to undermine democracy. The role of some Brazilian politicians who encourage attacks on Brazil is unacceptable. They were elected to serve the Brazilian people, but they only defend their own interests. They are traitors to the nation. History will not forgive them.
Norwegians are set to vote on Sunday and Monday in a nail-biter parliamentary election, pitting Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store's Labour-led left bloc against a surging right-wing alliance of the Anti-Immigration Progress Party and Conservatives. Latest polls show Labour at 27% support, poised for 50 seats, while FRP polls at 21% for 40 seats, up 19 from 2021. The left bloc edges ahead at 51% of votes or 88 seats versus the right's 81, but smaller parties like Surging Greens with 10 seats could tip the balance on climate and Gaza divestment from $2 trillion wealth fund. Economy, taxes and energy exports dominate the polls with record 47.2% early voting turnout, signalling high stakes for Europe's gas supplier. The results are expected Monday night. Now, the French Parliament is set for a crucial confidence vote on September 8, following strong criticism of Prime Minister François Bayrou's strict budget cuts and spending plans. The result will decide whether his government survives or falls, with the outcome likely to affect jobs, public services and daily life across the country. Our correspondent Rohini Gosavi reports.
France is heading into an important political moment, and it will affect not only leaders but common people as well. French Prime Minister has put forward a new budget with 44 billion euros cuts in spending. The government saying these cuts are needed because France's debt is too high and must be reduced. But for people, these cuts could make daily life more difficult. If the budget goes ahead, hospitals and schools may get less money, which could affect services. Some transport and building projects might be delayed. Families may receive less support with housing and social benefits. And workers fear there will be less help if they lost their jobs.
I think that's quite a mixed feeling because, we had the same kind of issues last year, so we are quite used to this kind of problems that doesn't get any solutions. But at the same time, it's kind of worrying because we don't know what's going to happen next week, and we feel like history is repeating. And we are not going to find solutions for this issue. So
the current budget in France is very uncertain. We don't know how it will get accepted because the current budget shows a lot of spending coming out from the public pocket. So it will be very, very costly to live in France.
This budget has created anger in the parliament and on the streets. Opposition parties are saying this budget is unfair, and even some members of the ruling side are also not happy with this. All of this has led to confidence vote, which will take place on 8th of September. If the Prime Minister wins the vote, he stays in power and budget will move forward. People will then start feeling the effects of these cuts in their everyday lives. And if he loses the votes, his government will have to resign, and that will create political uncertainty. President Emmanuel Macron would then need to decide whether to bring a new Prime Minister, call a new elections, or try to form a new group of support in parliament.
It will open a new era of uncertainty
So that's a mess, and sometimes it's once again time lost for true discussion and true action. So once again, it's frustrating, I guess, for French people. And yeah.
For the public, both options have problems. If the budget is approved, then daily life may become tougher because of reduced support. If the government falls, France could face weeks or months of confusion without clear leadership. Decision on September 8 will not only decide the Prime Minister's future, but also shape how people across France will live in the months ahead. Next few days are very important for France. Budget decisions could change life of many people. So everyone is watching closely and hoping the choices that makes life easier and secure. This is Rohini Goswami in Paris for DD India.
India and Germany deepened their partnership in science and innovation with an engaging session in Berlin. Sonika Rana files this report.
Indian Embassy in Berlin, students, experts and researchers from India and Germany have gathered for an engaging session on the scope and opportunities in chemical and material sciences. The event was inaugurated by the Ambassador of India to Germany, Ajit V. Gupte. It was attended by around 150 participants online and 70 in person. Among the participants were representatives from 20 reputed institutions from Germany, along with key stakeholders from various industries.
We hosted this program because of three objectives. One is that what is the ascent ecosystem between these two countries in respect of chemical sciences and material sciences. And number two, how we can make Indo-German cooperation between these two countries in respect of, again, material sciences and chemical sciences. And this cooperation, how we can get leverage of development of new product, new technology, new processes, which will be an outcome of both countries for the benefit of both countries, and which will facilitate the talent of both countries in a better way for future.
This year also marks a significant milestone in Indo-German trade relations as both nations celebrate 25 years of robust trading ties, further cementing their economic and scientific bond.
This session was very valuable and very insightful for me. We touched a lot of topics coming from material science or chemistry science, especially with the light on having, say, potential overlaps seeing here in Germany and in India, and identifying potential areas where we can collaborate better. That was very insightful for me.
The event today was just not about knowledge sharing, but also about building stronger academic and industrial collaboration between the two countries. This is Sonika Rana in Berlin for DD India.
At least 63 people were killed by jihadists in northeastern Nigeria while storming a town whose residents had been returned from a displacement camp. The Friday night assault struck the town of Darul Jamal, which hosts a military base on the Nigeria-Cameroon border in a zone ravaged by jihadist attacks. Baba Gana Zulum, governor of the embattled Borno state, said that 5 soldiers were among the dead. While jihadist violence has waned since the peak of the Boko Haram insurgency from 2013 to 15, militants including rival Islamic State West African province continued to launch attacks across rural areas in northeast. And tensions are once again flaring between Washington and Caracas. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro accused the United States of plotting violent regime change in Latin America, a charge Washington is pushing back against. Detailed report.
On Friday, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro called on the U.S. to abandon what he described as plan for violent regime change, as tensions mount over fresh American military deployment in the Caribbean. The remarks came after Washington ordered an additional 10 stealth fighter jets to bolster its presence in the region.
The government of the United States should abandon its plan of violent regime change in Venezuela and in all of Latin America and the Caribbean, and respect sovereignty, the right to peace, to independence.
US President Donald Trump, however, dismissed Maduro's allegations, saying regime change is not the US objective.
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election, to put it mildly. I'm being very nice when I say that. I can only say that billions of dollars of drugs are pouring into our country from Venezuela. The prisons of Venezuela have been opened up to our country. They've taken their prisoners, the worst prisoners, murderers, Tren de Aragua, the worst prisoners that you can ever imagine are now happily living in the United States of America. Now, many of them we've gotten out.
The war of words follows a US military strike early this week that killed 11 people and sank a Venezuelan boat allegedly carrying narcotics. Media reports suggest the Trump administration is now weighing further strikes against suspected cartel operations. With rhetoric hardening on both sides, the standoff is adding a dangerous new edge to US-Venezuela relations. Bureau Report, DD India.
And UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer brought in a sweeping reshuffle intended to restore his authority after the resignation of his deputy Angela Rayner. Starmer moved Foreign Minister David Lammy to become Deputy Prime Minister and replaced him with Interior Minister Yvette Cooper. Our next report tells you more.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer overhauled his ministerial team on Friday in a bid to reset his embattled government after Deputy Premier Angela Rayner resigned for underpaying a property tax. Starmer moved quickly to appoint David Lammy Deputy Prime Minister along with the charge of Justice Secretary. Yvette Cooper has been appointed the Foreign Minister. Cooper will immediately have to confront challenges like the Gaza conflict and the Ukraine crisis that will severely test Britain's global standing. Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood replaces Cooper at the Home Office. She will have to deliver a tough message on immigration, a fervent issue dividing Britons at present. Park origin Shabana is seen as a safe pair of hands in Labour who has not been scared to take bold action while running the justice system. Lucy Powell, the leader of the House of Commons, and Scottish Secretary Ian Murray have been sacked from their roles. The government also appointed new ministers for environment, business, housing and work and pensions. In total, a dozen cabinet positions were reshuffled. All are Starmer's trusted hands. It is interesting to note that this is the first major cabinet reshuffle of Starmer's stuttering 14-month-old premiership, during which the hard-right Reform UK party has overtaken Labour in popularity, according to polls. Londoners, meanwhile, reacted to the changes with cautious optimism, many of them willing to give the new cabinet benefit of the doubt.
I like Keir Starmer, and I think he's doing a basically sound job. He's made a few mistakes, but I'm right behind him.
We're just glad that Angela Rayner's gone.
I think it's a great shame that someone who is as smart and funny and talented as Angela Rayner's gone. It's a great shame because I think that she had an appeal for people on a popular level, and I think that people are drawn to popularism and the people that get put in front of the camera quite often now, rather than people who've got sensible policies, which is why you've got hideous individuals like Nigel Farage becoming popular. I will have to leave the country if he becomes Prime Minister.
Populist Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, meanwhile, on Friday, pledged to end the arrival of illegal migrants in boats in 2 weeks. Despite having only 4 lawmakers in the 650-strong British Parliament, Farage is confident that his Reform Party, which was on the fringes for 3 years until last year, can beat both Labour and the Conservatives. Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
And Microsoft has confirmed that its Azure cloud services are once again operating normally after a disruption linked to damage to several undersea cables in the Red Sea. The technology giant said on Saturday that it was no longer detecting issues across its platform, following earlier warnings that some customers could face higher latency. The disruption had particularly affected data traffic moving between Asia and Europe through the Middle East. While Microsoft did not specify how the subsea cables were damaged, the firm explained that its engineering teams had been actively working to reroute traffic and minimize delays. All right, time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. IAF carries out humanitarian operation in landslide-affected J&K and Himachal regions. And we'll bring you the latest weather updates from across the globe. And Anuparna Roy becomes first Indian to win Best Director in Horizonte section at Venice Film Festival. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Prime Minister Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron exchanged views on efforts to bring an early end to the conflict in Ukraine. PM Modi reiterates India's consistent support for peaceful resolution. Massive protests in Washington, D.C. to oppose Trump's troop deployment. Chicago braces for expanded ICE enforcement. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka beats Amanda Anisimova to retain US Open crown. In men's singles, Yannick Sinner to face Carlos Alcaraz in a blockbuster final. And in Hockey Asia Cup, India thrashed China 7-0 in the final Super Fours encounter, set up summit clash versus South Korea. Alright, global weather updates now. Hundreds of firefighters battled fresh wildfires in Portugal and Spain on Saturday following a summer of devastating blazes in the region. The biggest fire raged in Ceia, central Portugal, where 600 firefighters were deployed to tackle the flames fanned by strong winds, and several roads had to be closed. The police also said they have arrested a person suspected of starting the fire. In Spain, authorities confined the small village of Castromil in the northwest as a precaution on Saturday due to a nearby fire. Whereas on Sunday, Spain ended a state of emergency that had been in effect for several weeks due to one of the worst waves of wildfires to hit the country in recent years. And Hurricane Kiko downgraded to a Category 3 storm with 120 miles per hour. Winds churned about 935 miles east southeast of Hilo Sunday morning. Moving west-northwest at 12 miles per hour towards Hawaii as per the National Hurricane Center. Expected to weaken further into a tropical storm by midweek due to cooler waters and wind shear. The compact cyclone will pass north of the islands Tuesday, Wednesday, sparing direct hits but bringing heavy rain, gusts up to 50 miles per hour and life-threatening surf peaking at 10 to 15 feet along east-facing shores from Big Island to Kauai. Acting Governor Sylvia Luke's emergency declaration, effective through September 19, mobilizes the National Guard for debris clearance and infrastructure protection. And the India Met Department has issued red alert in West Rajasthan for extremely heavy rainfall on Sunday. IMD has also put Saurashtra and Kutch region and western state of Gujarat under red alert for heavy rainfall, thunderstorm and lightning. Heavy to heavy rainfall is also likely to be over East Rajasthan, Konkan and Goa and central Madhya Pradesh. IMD has also predicted heavy rainfall at isolated places over northeastern regions of India, eastern state of Odisha, sub-Himalayan West Bengal, southern states of Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and northern state of Uttarakhand. The situation in Punjab remains critical, with the state government working to provide relief and support to those affected. The India Met Department has issued alerts for further rainfall which may exacerbate the situation. 46 people have been lost. They have lost their lives so far in rain-related incidents, while 3 others reported missing around villages submerged in disaster-hit state in worst deluge in decades. Meanwhile, the overflowing Ravi and Uj rivers in Punjab left 7 villages isolated. NDRF teams, including women rescuers, evacuated stranded families and provided food, medicines and animal feed. Communication was restored by repairing mobile towers, while solar power supported electricity needs. Fogging machines were deployed to prevent disease outbreaks. The Governor, Gulab Chand Kataria, visited the area, lauding the NDRF's tireless day and night efforts despite dangerous conditions. All right, we'll go across to Jalandhar in Punjab now, where DD India's Gurmeet Singh joins us to get us the latest. Gurmeet, what's the current situation like in Punjab, Jalandhar in particular, and tell us about the relief and rescue operation there.
Abhishek, first of all, as you know that there was a respite from rain in Punjab in last 48 hours, but in morning today the rain started again and created challenges for the district administrations which are carrying out the rescue operations all across Punjab. So now in the provided weather conditions, there will be difficulty for the various district administrations for carrying out their activities all across the state. Now, if we talk about the various dams in Punjab, they are constantly releasing water in controlled manner. But this controlled release of water as well as torrential rains that has created and inundated 23 districts of Punjab, and about 2,000 villages are already submerged at this point in time. But the latest that we are getting from Sultanpur Lodhi, where there is a village called Khijarpur, where the embankment of Beas River got weakened, and the people are trying to strengthen it because the flood water may come to several villages, and the localites over there, district administration is constantly trying to strengthen that embankment. Second update that we are getting in is from Malot area of Punjab, where there is a village called Mahuana, and there is the Sarhind feeder canal, which is overflowing, swollen at this point in time, and the water started coming to the fields of the farmers, and they are trying to again strengthen the embankment over there so that the water does not reach to the fields and then to their villages, because there are a large number of villages which are under the threat of the floods at this point in time. Third update that we are getting in is from Sangrur, Mansa and Patiala area in Sangrur. However, the water level of Ghaggar river has come down a bit, but right now also it is near the danger mark, and at some points it is overflowing, so that is again a challenge for the locals over there. And Patiala specifically, if we talk, then there are several villages which are already inundated, and the administration is carrying out rescue operations over there in Patiala. There are two areas, specifically Patna and Ghanor. In these two areas, there are several villages which are already inundated into the water. The flood waters reach to the villages, and the embankment has got breached from several sides. So the district administration is constantly trying to strengthen the embankment over there. And fourth update we are getting in is from Ludhiana, Sasrali village, where again the embankment got weakened, and the district administration, the district commissioner himself is there for the rescue efforts, and strengthening of the embankment is going on over there. And constant operations and rescue operations, evacuation operations are on all across the state. If we talk about the various dams in Punjab, then Bhakra Dam is constantly releasing water, and that is again a challenge for the people of Punjab, for the district administrations, the various district administrations. If we talk about the water level in Bhakra Dam itself, then it is 1677.98 feet, which is 2 feet below the danger mark. The danger mark is 1680 feet in Bhakra Dam. And if we talk about Ranjit Sagar Dam, then the water level at that point, this point in time is 524.8 meters, which is about 2 meters below the danger mark,
Right.
which is 527 meters. And last is Pong Dam, which is quite important to be mentioned here, because in Pong Dam, the water level is 1393.05 feet at this point in time, and which is above the danger mark, because the danger mark is 1380 feet, and it is 13 feet above the danger mark.
All right, so monsoon mayhem, like you're saying, continues in Punjab. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from the state. Thank you, Gurmeet. Uttarakhand reels under landslides, floods and cloudbursts, with several districts badly hit. In Bageshwar, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami inspected relief operations and met the disaster-affected people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also assured support, and central teams are assessing the situation for quick relief. Displacement of vulnerable villagers is being planned, while large-scale infrastructure rebuilding will begin on a war footing once the rains subside. Meanwhile, due to sudden heavy rains in Uttarkashi district last evening, the Nagaon stream swelled up. Water and debris from the stream entered the market area, and dozens of houses, some vehicles parked on the road, were also swept away by the flow of water. And in a groundbreaking operation, the Indian Army's Battle X Division executed a swift drone-assisted rescue on Sunday, saving a 30-year-old man trapped midstream in the swollen Ayad River amid heavy monsoon rains. The man, identified as local labourer Rajesh Kumar, slipped into the fast-flowing waters near Badi Hawala while crossing a makeshift bridge, stranding him on a rocky outcrop for over 2 hours. Deploying a compact quadcopter UAV equipped with thermal camera and lifeline payload, Army engineers from 13 Rajputana Rifles unit located him precisely despite poor visibility. With Rajasthan's monsoon claiming 45 lives statewide this season, the Army has ramped up patrols along vulnerable rivers. The Indian Air Force has also carried out a major humanitarian operation in landslide-affected regions of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. In J&K, the Indian Air Force carried out a daring mission, airdropping 5.9 tons of life-saving food supplies in the landslide-affected regions of Udhampur. In Himachal Pradesh, swift and heroic operation saw 540 lives rescued and evacuated to safe areas in a remarkable 17-hour operation. 4 helicopters and 35 crew worked day and night to make these missions a success. The relief operations will continue until connectivity is restored and stranded residents are safely rehabilitated. A stunning total lunar eclipse dubbed the Blood Moon unfolds tonight across Asia, Australia, Africa and Europe, turning the full corn moon a vivid crimson as it slips into Earth's shadow. Visible to about 6.2 billion people, 77% of the world's population, the event will peak at 1811 UTC on September 7 with 82 minutes of totality from 1730 to 1853 UTC. In India, the penumbral phase will begin at 8:28 p.m. IST, partial at 9:27 p.m. and totality at 10:30 p.m. ending around midnight. Safe for naked eye viewing, the eclipse highlights atmospheric scattering of sunlight, casting reddish hues. Astronomers note clear skies in much of Asia. Live streams available for remote viewers. The next total eclipse will arrive in March 2026. And the sun's fiery flares disrupt Earth, causing blackouts, app outages and much more. With DD India's Santra Sinha, let's explore Surya, NASA and IBM's AI-powered digital sun twin, predicting solar storms to protect our planet's power and tech in this edition of Storyful.
farming, internet, and rescue operations. Surya turns uncertainty into foresight. India is also watching the sun. The Aditya L1 spacecraft, launched in 2023, is stationed at Lagrange Point 1, studying solar winds and capturing the first detailed images of flare kernels. China too is advancing with its solar activity artificial intelligence forecaster and Feng-Yu model to trace the entire chain of space weather. From Surya to Aditya L1, humanity is building a shield against the storms of our star, the sun. The sun gives us life, but it also threatens our world. With its digital twin watching over us, do you think humanity is ready for the next solar storm?
And India's vibrant film scene made a strong mark at the 82nd Venice International Film Festival, wrapping up on Saturday with two notable premieres highlighting diverse storytelling. Debut director Anuparna Roy's Songs of Forgotten Trees, backed by filmmaker Anurag Kashyap as presenter, premiered in the Horizonte section, competing for awards that spotlight emerging talents and innovative narratives. The filmmaker created history, winning the Best Director in Horizonte competition for her film Songs of Forgotten Trees. Produced by Bhibanshu Rai and others, it underscores India's push for underrepresented voices on global stages. All right, we are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India Newshour.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Sports updates now. We'll start with tennis. World number 1 Arina Sabalenka has edged her name further into tennis history. In New York, Sabalenka defeated America's Amanda Anisimova in straight sets to lift her second consecutive US Open crown. With this victory, she also becomes the first woman since Serena Williams to defend her title at Flushing Meadows. Has more on her landmark triumph.
Aryna Sabalenka delivered another display of power and poise to retain her US Open crown. The world number 1 defeated 8th seed Amanda Anisimova 6-3, 7-6 under the lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium to claim her 4th Grand Slam singles title, all of them on hard courts. Sabalenka stamped her authority early, breaking Anisimova's serve twice to pocket the opening set. But the American, backed by a packed home crowd, fought back bravely in the second set, even breaking Sabalenka when she was serving for the title at 5-4. That only delayed the inevitable. The defending champion steadied her nerves in the tiebreak, eventually sealing the match on her 3rd championship point before collapsing to her knees in celebration. The victory makes Sabalenka the first woman since Serena Williams in 2014 to successfully defend the US Open title. It also extends her Grand Slam final record on hard courts to 4 victories, underlining her dominance on the surface. She now has 2 Australian Open and 2 US Open titles under her belt. At just 27, Sabalenka has firmly established herself as the game's premier force, and with back-to-back US Open titles, she has ensured her place among the sport's greats. Her numbers continue to grow impressive. A 100th career Grand Slam match win, a 34-6 record at the US Open, and 56 victories already this season, more than any other player on the WTA Tour. With 4 titles this year, Sabalenka has taken her overall title win tally to 21. For Anisimova, this was her first US Open final. She had stunned 6-time major winner Iga Swiatek and four-time champion Naomi Osaka en route to the title clash. Despite defeat, her run has underlined her resurgence and her potential to become a Grand Slam champion in the near future. Aryna Sabalenka's triumph not only secures her fourth major title but also reaffirms her as the undisputed world number one. Sports Desk, TD India.
And in men's singles, Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz clashed in the blockbuster title contest on Sunday. They have shared previous 7 Grand Slam titles, and this is the third consecutive major final this year between them. Alcaraz clinched the French Open before Sinner took home the Wimbledon title. In the summit clash, not only the crown, but the number 1 spot in the rankings is also at stake. All right, to talk more on this, DD India's Narayan Singh joins us. Narayan, the latest chapter of arguably the most riveting rivalry in modern-day men's tennis, Alcaraz versus Sinner, 5 hours and 29 minutes in French Open. Wimbledon was just over 3 hours, and we are in for a marathon game again.
Abhishek, definitely, if you talk about the two modern-day greats, now after the diminishing power of the Novak Djokovic, he was the last, we can say, installment of the big three we used to discuss since last 2 decades. But this new rivalry that is just boiling between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, we can say that it is one of the best in the modern day era. If you take a look at their records, their last 7 Grand Slams were shared between these two players, and it is the third time they will play in the consecutive manner the final of a Grand Slam championship. So last time it was Novak Djokovic at the US Open who won a major Grand Slam trophy, and after that these two were establishing themselves as the greatest of the tennis world. If you take a look, their record this year, two Grand Slams were won by Jannik Sinner, that is Wimbledon and Australian Open, and the French Open was won by Carlos Alcaraz, and it's the time to settle the score for Carlos Alcaraz to make it 2-all for him. But we know that the quality of Jannik Sinner on hard court is always a difficult player to beat him, because we know that he has won 2 Australian Open, and at the hard courts, and especially the slick hard court, he dominates much. But we saw in the semi-finals, his Sinner's semi-final match against Alex, he took a medical timeout. He dropped the set second time in the tournament. So looking like an even contest, but we know that Alcaraz, what kind of player he is, very exceptional, very skilled player. He has a variety of the shot. He can play drop shot. He can top spin the ball. He can, we can say that near the net, he can play exceptionally well shot. But we know that Sinner, he has a great quality of playing down the line from the baselines. His shots are very, we can say, the ground stroke and very fast, and it's very difficult for any opponent to control those shots. So all in all, it's going to be a cracker of a contest between the two greats of the modern era, and they will try to establish themselves and try to just, we can say, it's very nascent, it's very early to say that they will match the big three, but they have definitely showed the symptoms. They have showed the signs of being the greatest in the tennis world.
Absolutely going to be a cracker of a match, and you can watch a special show on this at 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs, Narayan. And it was goals galore in India's final Super 4 clash against China as the Indian men's hockey team stormed into the Asia Cup final with a commanding 7-0 win. India stamped its authority early, racing to a 3-0 lead in the first half. The dominance continued in the third quarter, with Rajkumar Pal and Sukhjit Singh adding their names to the score sheet. In the final quarter, Abhishek struck twice, sealing a thumping 7-0 victory. India will take on South Korea in the summit clash after the latter beat Malaysia in the other Super 4. South Korea is the only team which held India to a draw in the tournament. Both teams squared off in their first Super 4's match, which ended in a 2-2 stalemate. And the shores of Lake Van in eastern Turkey have once again become a resting ground for flamingos, delighting locals and photographers alike. Flocks of flamingos have been spotted along the shallow waters, and the vibrant gathering has turned the lakes coastline into a destination for photographers hoping to capture the rare spectacle. Take a look. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the globe on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.